anybody in here in a healthy relationship? Ooh.
No.
No. Okay, there's a lot of strong no's. Okay, why? Like, what's been happening?
Broken.
That's good.
That
Broken.
part, I feel like past relationships mold a person sometimes.
Okay.
So when two people with past experiences come together,
Mm-hmm.
it's not always gonna be, beautiful sunshine and rainbows. If that makes sense.
Okay. So from what I'm getting, the vibe is that we've been in relationships, but those relationships haven't been very fulfilling. They haven't been healthy. Have they been toxic?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we say toxic, what are you referring to?
Not healthy.
Will. like what encompasses that toxicity? Is it lack of communication? Is it lack of trust? Is it
Pettiness, maybe?
pettiness? So someone feeling like they need to one up
Yeah.
the other person?
Cycles.
Cycles. Okay.
You got G in the back.
Go ahead, G.
Yeah. Are we limiting it to romantic relationships or?
No, it can be platonic relationships,
Oh, okay.
romantic relationships, family, any relationship that you have in your life, whether it's with your parent or your coworker or a friend.
Poor communication.
Poor communication.
As far as contributing to toxicity.
Okay.
Based on lies.
Lies. Manipulation. That's a big one.
I think, like, Kevin, what she was kind of saying, like manipulation, how it can be abused.
Abused. So abusive. So maybe there's like emotional abuse, right?
Yeah.
So we're all familiar with what encompasses an unhealthy relationship. But the question today is, do you understand what encompasses a healthy relationship? When you think of healthy relationship, what comes to your mind?
Strong communication skills.
Strong communication skills, that's good.
Selflessness.
Selflessness. Okay. What do you say, Will?
Patience.
Patience. I like that. Go ahead, Rachel.
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
I was about to say, make yourself feel uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable?
Yeah,
So
'cause,
meaning like they want you to grow, so push you
Yeah.
out of your comfort zone? I like that. Open.
Trust.
Trust. That's a big one. Those are all fantastic answers. And in this training today, I want to help you understand, and I know I've done it before, but I want to switch it up a little bit today and focus on two components. So when we talk about healthy relationships, you all said literally all the right answers. Clear communication, there's trust. But there's two of them that I didn't really hear too much about. And it's boundaries and consent. Oftentimes when we hear about communication, we always hear about, okay, I know I need to communicate with them, I know I need to trust them. But boundaries and consent are two vital components of any healthy relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or whether it's a platonic relationship. And we're going to talk more about what these encompass. But before we begin, I want to take a moment to kind of highlight what a healthy relationship looks like, what an unhealthy relationship looks like, and what an abusive relationship looks like. Oftentimes, when we think of unhealthy and abusive relationships, it's hard for people to decipher what that means. Because to be unhealthy is different from being abusive. When we think about abuse, we think of physical violence. But there's actually different tactics that perpetrators use to incite the violence. So, okay, as you may know, but just to kind of reiterate this, healthy relationships take effort and compromise from both people. So this is you and your friend. This is you and your significant other. This is you and your coworker. Communication is key because one person cannot be putting in all the time, all the energy, and all the effort. Because what happens is that it becomes one-sided. Now, something that I have learned when it comes to effort and compromise is the importance of voicing what I want, voicing my desires, my opinions, my dreams, my goals, because as much as someone else's dreams and goals matters, because we all know that, your dreams and goals matters too. And I'll share with you that for the longest time, I want to say, for probably about 5 years, I was an extreme people pleaser, and I shared this before. And the reason why I want to share this is because when I was a people pleaser, the reason why I continued to say yes, the reason why I continued to ignore what I wanted, was because I wanted other people to like me. When people liked me, that's when I got a sense of self-worth. That's when I felt good about myself. But the moment that someone said something that was mean to me or said something that I didn't like, it was like I felt, oh my gosh, they're against me, they hate me, I'm a terrible person, I don't deserve the good things that life has to offer. And what happened to me was I entered this pattern where I would say yes to things all the time. Hey Hannah, can I, get the answers from the homework assignment that you spent 5 hours on last night? Yes, you can. The whole time I said yes, but on the inside I was so angry. I was rageful. Oh Hannah, I don't have money. Can I borrow $100? But by borrowing they mean, like, can I get $100 but I won't pay you back? Yeah, of course. Of course I can do that for you. Hannah's a nice person. Hannah's the people pleaser. I said yes and yes and yes. And what happened to me was my entire self-esteem and my entire self-worth was destroyed because two things happened. The first, I started to resent the people around me. I thought, well, if Will was my friend, if Will knows me so much, if Will understands me, then he would know that I can't do that. He would know that I don't have $100 to give. He would know that I spent so much time on this homework assignment that he should have done as well, but I stripped myself from that, right? So I started resenting other people around me, but the most important thing was that I started resenting myself because I was teaching myself how I wanted other people to treat me. And how they were treating me was they were walking all over me like I was nothing. And there's one poem, this quote really resonated with me, and maybe it'll resonate with you today. But it's each time you break your own boundaries in order to ensure that someone else likes you, you like yourself a little less. Deep down, we all have our own voice. We have an intuition. Maybe you can say that it's God talking to you, but we all have that voice inside of us that tells us when we're overstaying our visit with someone, that tells us when we're overstaying that time, that capacity in the friendship, in the relationship. We have something that tells us, hey, Hannah, hey, Will, hey, G, this person, they're not for you, we need to leave, but we continue to stay, we continue to break our boundaries, and we continue to ignore the voice and the feeling inside. And what ends up happening is we start to hate ourselves. In a healthy relationship, there's also no imbalance of power. Each individual respects the other's independence. So you should be able to make your own decisions without someone telling you what to do, without someone telling you how to feel, without someone telling you what you need to do every step of your way. You are capable of that. And finally, if or when a relationship ends, there's no stalking or refusal to let the other partner go. Sometimes, like you shared, people are not meant to stay forever. And it's something that I've learned, it's the perspective that you have. You can either see it as something that you can learn and grow from, like, hey, this person wasn't meant to stay in my life forever, but I learned this from them. They taught me how to love myself better. They taught me that I need to respect my boundaries. Or you can see it as, oh my gosh, I let this person go. They left me because I'm so terrible. They left me because I'm not worthy. You have that power to change the narrative in your own head. And what I find and what I see is that a lot of people, when relationships end, they blame themselves for it. They think they're the bad guy. They think they're the ones or they're the problem when maybe they did do something wrong. But it's your narrative, it's how you see the situation, and it hurts. It hurts so bad to let people go, especially people that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with, or people that you thought you'd be friends with forever. But sometimes you outgrow people. Sometimes that chapter is done, and it's important that you look forward and you see the future. Okay, now when it comes to unhealthy relationships, once again, people often confuse unhealthy and abusive. I want to help you distinguish between the two. So in an unhealthy relationship, there is a lack of trust. So when there is no trust, as you all know, what this means is that someone's actions are not aligning with their words. They're telling you one thing, but they're doing something else. And there's causing a disconnect. Remember that voice that I talked about, the voice that you have inside of you? It's important that when you're in friendships, when you're in relationships, you listen to what someone does, but more importantly, you always trust what they do. Actions never lie because actions show patterns. When it comes to relationships, this is what has been true for me. I will know the true intention of a person within the first 3 to 4 months. Because after the first 3 to 4 months, if they're putting on a facade, facade, the mask usually comes off. It's hard to keep up with false appearances. So if someone is genuine, if someone cares about you, after those 3 to 4 months, they will be there for you. They'll show you who they really are. And that's when I let myself be vulnerable. Because if it's before 3 to 4 months, I don't know. Based on my experience, it's just something that I've learned. Well, I'm getting reactions. What's happening?
No, it's all good.
Sure?
No, that's exactly what I do. 90 days.
90 days.
Yeah.
Because you know why? It takes 90 days to build a habit. So if I'm trusting you for 90 days and I'm believing in the manipulation and the grooming and the lies that you're telling me, now when you start changing towards me, it's going to make it so much harder for me to leave because I'm used to something that was never really true in the first place. So I need to protect myself, right? You feel that, Phil? Will? Yeah, okay. The next is there's no communication. So a lot of the times what I see is this thing of like ghosting people. You know, as children, we may not have been taught how to communicate, and this goes for a lot of us. You know, depending on your culture, maybe if you were in trouble, instead of your parents letting you talk or express yourself, they would punish you, but it depends, right? So a lot of us in this room, we're not taught how to communicate. And I'm up here, I'm talking to you all, you may perceive me as someone who's like, okay, she's articulate, she can express herself. But for the longest time, I could not express my feelings without bursting into tears. Like, I got so emotional, I felt every emotion, and when something bothered me, 2 words would come out and then I'd start crying. And when I'd start crying, I'd feel, oh my god, I can't even talk about this person is judging me, and then they would see me as weak, I would spiral. And it took me 3 years to get to the point where I could actually have a conversation, talk about something that was important to me without bursting into tears. And when it comes to communication, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of effort to build. Because communication is not easy to tell someone, because you're worried about, okay, if I tell them how I feel, is this going to change our friendship dynamic? Is this going to change our relationship dynamic? And a lot of people, when it comes to communication, they're scared because they think, well, if I tell them this, then they're going to start pulling away. They're going to leave me. They're going to break up with me. They're going to end this friendship. They're not going to want to see me anymore. But communication has a lot to do with boundaries, because when you communicate how you feel, you're letting that person know what's right and what's true for you. You're letting that person know, like, hey, this is something that I didn't like. Hey, this is something that I did like. Hey, this is something that I'm not comfortable with. Go ahead, G.
What if there are some people who can't absorb or take in what you want to share with them and tell them? Like, in your heart of hearts, like, hey, when you do this, and they're just like, well, you are they always throw it back to you. How do you kind of navigate dealing with those
It's kind of like
type of
gaslighting a little bit. They minimize, they deny, they blame. So one thing that I want to say with that is people who do that, it's because their egos are being hurt. Like, if someone, okay, let's say that I have a problem with Will, right? Will is fake. We love each other, okay? So let's say that Will did something to me that I don't like. I don't know. Make up a scenario.
Ate your Cheerios.
He ate my
That's what
Cheerios,
he
yes.
said.
I love Cheerios. Will ate my Cheerios. I was really looking forward to my Cheerios. And I
Are they
am
regular
so
Cheerios or Honey Nut Cheerios?
There's Honey Nut Cheerios.
That's a very real scenario.
That is, because that's like a crime, because Honey Nut Cheerios is like the best, right? Okay, so, but let's say, so you're good. So let's say I'm mad, right? But you're saying that I'm telling Will, but he's like deflecting and saying that I'm the problem.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he eats your Cheerios. Like, hey, every time you do this, you eat my Cheerios, it makes me feel XYZ. You're trying to bring it to him, be honest with him, but he's like, well, why do you have your Cheerios out there? Like, what if it's not for someone to eat? Like, it's your fault.
Yeah.
So should you even talk to someone like that and let them know?
Great question. Great question. Do you want to add on?
Yeah, I kind of felt like it was more, I mean, you could say gaslighting, but I feel like it was more like a denial type situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about ego. You know, sometimes people got pride and they don't want to be wrong, or they don't want to be told no about certain things. It's not so much that they're not accepting what you're saying, they just don't want to hear that out of anything else you could have told them. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, hey, can I get this? Oh, well, we're out of this right now. Basically, they're not hearing that because I don't want to.
They feel like they're the villain, basically.
No, they feel like I'm entitled to whatever I'm asking for, whether you're saying you got it or not. You know what I'm saying? And I get what he's saying, like, how do I deal with that? Okay, let's just think about that. You can bring the horse to the water, but can't make it drink aspect. And you just did like that. Okay, well, I told you, capitalize it at least 3 times. Well, hey, we don't have that. Okay, well, man, I know y'all got it, man. I told you we don't got that. Okay, okay, well, look, we don't have that. And this is over. Okay, okay, now I'm not talking to you no more.
Right.
Now the logical has turned to illogical. There's no reason for us to be speaking.
Correct. And that goes with like trusting someone's actions and their consistency. If someone is consistently committed to not understanding your point of view, if they're consistently committed to not wanting to like do better, and they understand that you're hurt by something that they did, but they're not in their journey where they can like acknowledge that, hey, like I did something, I may not understand what I did was wrong, but I know that I hurt this person. If they're not open to caring, like that caring is so important, because if they don't care, then that relationship is worthless. They're going to continue to deny you. They're going to waste your time. They're going to minimize you. They're going to gaslight you. Because what's going to happen consistently is now I'm going to start to think, well, maybe I am the problem. Maybe I shouldn't have left those Cheerios out there, right? Now I start thinking I'm the problem. I start victimizing myself when in reality it was Phil. But this is a false scenario.
But on the other hand, as well, things only hurt if you're allowed to. So if he ate your Cheerios, instead of having my side, damn, he ate my Cheerios, I know some other people, they'll try to point the finger at somebody and try to increase the guilt. Like Will told you he's sorry, but for 3 hours straight you still hung about, damn, like he ate my Cheerios and I can't believe
that's a very good point.
Yeah. Instead of just having the mindset, having a rational mindset, okay, well, Will ate my Cheerios, I got a little money in my pocket right now, let me go to the store and get a lot of Cheerios.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's not the only Cheerios on Christmas Earth. You don't gotta drill this man for 3, 4, 5 hours. It did hurt, but don't let it hurt you and just go get you another bottle.
Correct. And that's a very big point too, because sometimes what I notice too is people, like, they are very good at expressing themselves, but when it comes to letting things go and knowing what to let go too, because Cheerios, like, in itself, this is not, like, yes, it's a big deal. I'm not invalidating that, but it's also, like, not the end of the world, right? And some people like to dwell on it, and they bring it up over and over again, and that's just, like, pointless.
If you hold it on your heart, you hold grudges, and that's not good.
And that's not good.
Just forgive me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I would say, like, in that case, if that was a situation and I kept, like, dwelling on it, I would be in the wrong for that, because I expressed it. Let's say he validated it. He said, Hannah, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know. Like, I will try not to do it again, or I won't do it again. Like, that's him doing his part. My part now, I have to say, okay, well, I forgive you. But once again, you listened to me, you heard me. Please don't let it happen. But I'm still sad, but I'm not going to dwell on it, because that's growth from my part. Understanding, like, hey, he said sorry. Now I have to move on. So, and that's where trust comes in too, because let's say there's another scenario. Let's say that the same situation has been happening for 5 times, but Will is always saying sorry. And he's saying, Hannah, I'm so sorry, like, this won't happen again. I promise you I will change, right? Because that happens too. But he's acknowledging it. But the reason why I can't get over it now is because it keeps happening every single week.
You can't respect him, apologize for it.
So now there's a lack of trust, and the foundation of the whole relationship has been destroyed, because now I can't trust Will anytime I have, whether it's Cheerios, whether it's ice cream, whether it's anything, because deep down my intuition, my voice is telling me you can't trust Will, and that destroys the relationship, and that's where problems start being brought up from the past. That's where things just start, bubbling up, and the relationship just becomes very unhealthy at that point.
Right.
But very good points.
In a sense, like, what if someone is, just expanding on what you're saying, like, what if that person, is still saying sorry, they're still repeating the same cycle, but they want to change, but they don't know how to.
That's a great question. So when you say they want to change, are they telling the other person, like, hey, like, I notice this is...
I notice this upsets you, and I understand that the way I am coming across and I'm doing things is affecting you, but I don't know how to stop.
Okay.
I don't know.
That makes sense. I understand what you're saying, I think. And that's where